Up, up, and away. Thomas and Percy are best friends. Whenever they meet, they like to greet each other with a toot and a hoot and a whoop of joy. One morning, Thomas chuffed into Tidmouth's sheds. He was very excited.
Mr. Bubbles is bringing his big balloon show to Sodor. He's going to blow the biggest balloons ever.
Big balloons make my boiler bubble, Thomas.
Thomas laughed. He liked to see his best friend happy.
If we puff quickly, Percy, we will be in time to meet Mr. Bubbles at the docks.
So Thomas and Percy raced to the docks. Then they gasped. There was the biggest balloon Thomas and Percy had ever seen.
Fizzling fireboxes.
Sir Topham Hatt smiled.
Thomas and Percy, you will take the big balloon to the showground. You must be there by tea time. Chuff carefully.
Thomas and Percy jiggled with joy.
Yes, sir.
Gordon is to take me to pick up Lady Hat and Dowager Hat. Then we will go to the balloon show.
This is a very special, Percy.
The most special of all.
So, Percy and Thomas buffered up to the big balloon. Percy was so excited his rods rattled.
We will chuff along the woodland track. It's quiet and calm.
Percy's firebox flickered.
The balloon might be popped by the prickles on the woodland track. We should take the coast track. It's flat and fast.
Thomas was worried that the coast track might be windy, but he didn't want to upset Percy.
Very well, Percy. We'll take the coast track.
So Thomas and Percy pulled proudly away with the big balloon. The coast track was flat and fast. Percy was pleased, but Thomas was worried.
The wind has started to whip and whistle.
It puffed and it huffed the balloon up in the air and away.
Cinders and ashes!
Flatten my funnel!
We must rattle and race after the big balloon.
Percy's boiler bubbled.
No, Thomas. We should wait and watch for the big balloon. It's sure to float back to us.
Thomas wasn't sure, but he didn't want to upset Percy.
Very well, Percy.
So Thomas and Percy waited and watched. Then Gordon huffed huffily in. He was on his way to pick up Sir Topham Hatt.
What are you two doing?
We're waiting for the big balloon
To flutter and float back to us.
Gordon grunted grumpily.
The big balloon won't float back to you. The wind will whip it away.
And it did. That made Percy very upset. Thomas didn't want Percy to be upset.
Don't worry, Percy. We'll chuff back to the docks. Mr. Bubbles is sure to have another big balloon.
Mr. Bubbles had blown up another big balloon. His cheeks were red and rosy.
Thank you, Mr. Bubbles. Pump your pistons for the show, Percy.
Thomas and Percy giggled and jiggled along the track. Then they came to a tunnel.
Cinders and ashes. This tunnel is too small for the big balloon.
Buffers and bumpers.
We must chuff back to another tunnel.
Percy's funnel fizzed.
No, Thomas. I'm sure we can pull the big balloon through the tunnel.
Thomas wasn't sure at all, but he didn't want to upset his best friend Percy.
Very well, Percy. Puff on.
But the big balloon was too big. It stuck tight. Then Gordon reached in. Sir Topham Hatt was in his carriage. The big balloon blocked his track.
What are you two doing now?
We're trying to push.
And pull the big balloon through the tunnel.
Gordon grunted and groaned.
Oh, it will pop.
That made Percy upset. Thomas didn't want Percy to be upset.
Don't worry, Percy. We can chuff back to the docks. Mr. Bubbles is sure to have another big balloon.
Mr. Bubbles had huffed and puffed. He had blown up another big balloon.
Thank you, Mr. Bubbles. Pump your pistons, Percy. Off we puff to the show.
Now, Thomas and Percy were late for the show. They wheeshed and they whooshed like the wind. The big balloon bobbled and wobbled. Then Gordon thundered towards them.
Out of my way! Express coming through!
Thomas and Percy screeched to a stop.
Trembling tracks.
The big balloon bounced from the flatbed, high into the sky. Then it fizzed and it whizzed, darting this way and that, as it shrank smaller and smaller.
My hat!
My hat!
My hat!
All the hats were hatless.
Thomas, what are you doing?
Thomas felt terrible, and Percy was upset.
I promised to look after the big balloon, and I haven't. I didn't want Percy to be upset, and now he is. I knew what to do, but I didn't do it.
Why didn't you, Thomas?
Thomas wheeshed and whooshed.
I didn't want to upset you, Percy.
Percy smiled and sighed.
You can't upset me, Thomas. You're my best friend.
You're right, Percy.
Shall we puff back to Brendam for another balloon?
No, Percy. First, we'll ask the drivers to pick up the hats for the hats. Next, we must clear the tunnel. We'll bit and we'll bash the balloon till it pops. Lastly, we'll pick up Mr. Bubbles and another big balloon and chuff carefully along the woodland track to the show. Hooray and hurrah!
The woodland track was quiet and calm.
You were right, Thomas.
Thank you, Percy.
And the two friends smiled all the way to the big balloon show. Then, from high in the sky, another big balloon floated down.
Look at that, Gordon. The wind has brought it back to us.
And even Gordon whistled and whooped with wonder.